I just want a wound, so a flat wound. I might have to take my gloves off because they'll probably end up where I can't feel it properly. So I'll see how I get on. I'm going to just push it down. So I'm going to imagine this wound's going to go somewhere like on the forehead or somewhere like that. But what I've got to do is I'm going to sculpt this clay and make it look like the wound. So when you're sculpting, you want it to look like the wound is going to be on the face, on the leg, on the arm, wherever it's going to be positioned. So how exactly it looks is how exactly it's going to look on the body. Does that make sense? So what you make it look like on here is going to be exactly as it's going to look on the body. So use a bit of water. I can see I'm going to struggle with these gloves on because the fingers are growing really long. So at least when you're using your fingers, you can, feel it and everything. So the edges of this, I want it really sort of like blended in. And I don't want it lumpy because this is how it's going to look on the body. So this is an open wound that I'm going to create. So I'm blending the edges out and trying to flatten the clay a bit. Yeah. So if this was, sliced, maybe with a bit of wire, wire fencing on somebody's thigh, bit of barbed wire, whatever, probably might put a big gash along it like this. And with this you can then start to pull it apart slightly and resemble the skin being ripped by wire, some sharp object. Could be a piece of glass, could be anything you want it to be really. Whatever it's, when you're doing stuff like this, you fit it to the storyline, what the character's doing in the film or production. So this could be something. So I've got a wound going on, a bit jagged, and then you've got all these other little light tools that you can start to, sculpt it. I mean, I'm doing it quite fast for you, whereas you can take your time, but it's going quite deep here, quite open. So when it comes to the special effects, the blood and everything, and the wound filler's going to go in here. So, and this is the bit of flesh that's open. So just here. And then what you can do is just start to create texture. So a stipple sponge, because if you look at your skin closely, you've got, if you look at it, you've got pores on your skin, and you've got little fine downy hairs on your skin, and you've got imperfections. So by having a smooth clay isn't realistic to a skin. To get something realistic and skin looking, a really good thing would be orange peel. If you look at an orange peel and then look at your skin, that does have quite a good resemblance to skin. So just an orange, bit of orange peel, just sort of touched onto your clay would help. And then you can use an orange one, even, and then bits of clay that are up here can look jagged and not smooth. You don't want them to look smooth. You could even use a toothbrush or this, another little fine brush, and this is creating texture all the time. So, but generally depends what's cut it. If it's something like a piece of glass, it would have a real clean slice. So, but you can, numerous things, you know, hay, straw, anything, orange peel, anything can create it. So I've got a wound going on there. I've created a wound, an open wound. How that looks now is going to look when it's on the body. So I like that. I'm really happy with that. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a wall around it because we're going to cast it. So some more clay, and just not very high, you don't need it extremely high, probably an inch high, and just leave it about 1 centimetre from the edge, yeah, and stick this wall down. So a bit of water on it will help, and make sure your clay is nice and soft and not dry, because it's hard to then manipulate it. If you can get away with wearing gloves, it's better, because the clay gets up your nails and everything. But remember to wear your aprons and stuff. And just.
So are you creating a mould?
Yeah, this is what I'm creating, that flat prosthetic piece that we talked about, and this now is my positive here. And so, you know, like the silicone ones that were pre-made and bought, we're making our own now. So what you're getting the chance to do is design your own. So how big and how wonderful you want them to be, you're in charge of them now, so you can make what you want. So I've just gone for something straightforward and simple, but how complex you want your wound to be is up to you now, which is good, because this is your opportunity to design your own stuff. With the wall, it has to be 1 centimetre from the wound, what you're looking at, and then what you're doing is just securing the bottom of the wall, because what you're going to do is fill it up with plaster of Paris, and so you don't want any holes in the bottom of this wall, because if you do, your plaster's going to seep out and run all over the place. So I've got my cast, well, it's not a cast, but it's a sculpture, should I say, of my wound and how I want it to look, and I've got my wall around it. So what I'm going to do now is clean it up a little bit. You can use a bit of a cotton bud just there around the edges if you want, or your finger, don't matter, just to make your edges nice and smooth. And then, because that's how, what you see is what you're going to get on the body. And then I'm going to start to put a releasing agent on there. So we're going to use a releasing agent before we mix the plaster of Paris. We're going to mix the plaster of Paris, and then we're going to pour the plaster of Paris into that slush mould, that flat prosthetic mould. Does that sound okay, everyone? Yeah? Alright, you can turn that off.